Welcome to Washington Unplugged on this Monday after Christmas. I'm Wyatt Andrews in Washington. On Christmas Day, a 23-year-old Nigerian man passed through security twice before he then attempted to ignite an explosive substance aboard an international flight to Detroit. After warnings from his father about his son's extremist tendencies, and after that son purchased a $3,000 cash ticket one way with no checked bags, Abdul Muttalib was able to board the plane. What happened and what does this mean for all of you traveling this holiday season? I'm joined today by Stewart Baker, who was formerly number 2 at the Department of Homeland Security during the Bush administration, where he directly oversaw the activities of the TSA, the Transportation Security Administration. Stewart, thank you very much for joining us today. For all of those people, let's just start here, those people that are traveling this week, knowing and being warned that there are enhanced security measures at the airports. Let's just speak domestically this week. What should travelers expect?
Longer delays, arriving earlier, pat-downs, much more intimate pat-downs and much more frequent pat-downs, more use of the millimeter wave machines, and I think generally a much slower process of getting through the system. And then once you're on the flight, the last hour is not going to be pleasant. You're going to be sitting there with your hands in your lap.
What do you mean by that?
That is to say that some of the security guidelines that have been issued say you should have nothing on your lap during the last hour as you approach the airport in the United States.
So I have heard talk of, during the last hour, no use of pillows, no use of blankets, and turning off all electronics. Obviously that's a little early.
Yes.
But why is that? Why not use the pillow? Why not have a blanket?
I think the fear is that there will be an opportunity there for people to repeat the attack that we saw from the Nigeria flight to Detroit. That,
do you mean they don't want folks concealing
hide under the blanket and then mix chemicals in a way that leads to an explosion of the sort that we saw with Abdul Muttalib?
I'd like to ask about a statement TSA, one of your former agencies, put out this week saying it has. Now this is a Q&A that you can get on the TSA website. What should we travelers expect this week? And it says TSA has a layered approach to security that allows us to surge resources. What does that mean?
I think that must mean that they have a mechanism for bringing in a lot more people on weekends and during the holidays or when they expect long lines, so that they can at least open up more machines and more lines to take people through the process more quickly.
Stuart, this also says, though, they're going to use more explosive detection canine teams. Obviously, more dogs will be employed. I mean, that's obvious. Behavior detection techniques, probably looking for people in line who may seem nervous.
Yeah, that's right.
But I guess what most folks would want to know is, are we able in the United States to detect explosives? Obviously on a person.
It is not easy. In theory, actually the dogs are in many cases the best line of defense because they can smell these explosives and detect them that way. But yes, if you use the millimeter wave, it's very hard to hide the device on your body. If you use a puffer machine, if they really work well, then you can pick up trace elements of the chemical. But we're talking about a tiny amount of explosive. If you put 1/3 of a cup of sugar in a little sandwich bag and rolled it up, that's all they have to hide somewhere on their body. That's not a lot.
If I have this accurately from TSA, you just mentioned a couple of machines or there are a few machines out there. You mentioned one, the puffer machine. But there is another one, I believe, at 40 airports around the country called the millimeter wave machine. And then a third one, the backscatter, 150 of those. And these are able to, I mean, some people call them the naked machines,
yes,
right?
That's right. They can see through your clothes to some degree, sometimes to a rather uncomfortable degree. But they are more effective and, frankly, from my point of view, less invasive than having the same kind of pat-down that would be necessary to find those that sort of a small baggie of material.
And so why does TSA only have fewer than 200 of these machines?
Because privacy campaigners have been fighting against the use of these machines bitterly. Congress passed a law, the House of Representatives passed a law just a month or two ago saying we want to ban these things. We don't want you to use them.
Do you think it's time to go the other way?
Yes, I think we have to. Al-Qaeda has demonstrated that they are determined to blow up planes, ideally coming into the United States, and they're going to keep trying using this technique, hiding a small amount of very powerful explosives in a variety of places until we demonstrate that it isn't going to work. So far, they've gotten it on the plane 2 out of 2 times that we know about.
Based on what you know, given your experience in the Bush administration, when this young man pays cash in Lagos, Nigeria, I mean, obviously, that's a flag to the system. It's a one-way ticket. That's a flag to the system. But his father had also gone to an embassy officer in Nigeria and warned that he thought his son had extremist tendencies. Any idea why that did not raise more of an alert in the system?
A couple of places where that fell down, maybe more than that. At the State Department, the consular officials did not treat this as an enormously significant event, even in their own system. They had an outstanding visa for him. They didn't take it back because they didn't want to or didn't think that this was a good basis for doing it. That was a mistake. And then they didn't have a good way of getting that information to TSA. TSA has very few identity-based screening processes. And it's a very high bar to get into the selectee or no-fly area.
May I ask this? Is this something that an embassy officer made a mistake in judgment on, or is it a systemic problem that needs addressing?
Both. The intelligence community will tell you it was a mistake by the consular officer. That is handy for them, and there may well have been an error of judgment there.
But are you saying we need better internal procedures?
We need a better way to take the information we get about travelers,
yes,
and actually use it to decide how much screening they're going to get. Right now, we have a sort of 1 or 2 level, either you're a no-fly or you're a danger, a known danger, and you're a selectee. We need a much more flexible system, like the system we have when you cross the border into the United States. When you cross the border into the United States, I'm willing to bet that if Abdul Muttalib had gotten to the Dulles or Detroit border screening process, all that information that was in there would have been used to screen him and probably turn him around and send him home. Because TSA doesn't have access to that information and doesn't know how to use it to provide graded screening, the information in the system didn't do them any good.
You are describing a system where we need better integration between our information gatherers in embassies and the TSA.
Yes.
Stewart Baker, thank you very much for joining us on Washington Unplugged today. We're much obliged for your time. And that is Washington Unplugged. Find us here every single day at 12:30 p.m. on CBSNews.com. I'm Wyatt Andrews in Washington. Thanks for joining us.